here's a question you may have pondered. What does the rest of the world look like in Zenless Zone Zero? Is there more out there? We've been told that New Eridu is the last city on the planet, the last bastion of humanity. But why? Let's take a look at what we know. Today, we'll be covering some of Eridu's history, the Dark Wall, population, and a little bit of real-world geography. Let's take a look. There is an old trailer for Zenless on their channel that depicts hollows forming during everyday life, all around the world. The real world. The most likely explanation for this is that it is not to be taken as canon to the game, but let's entertain the thought. Taking the video at face value, one day hollow disasters started forming all around the world, likely consuming the large majority of the world's population centers. With so much matter for the hollows to consume, they grew and grew, leaving humanity to congregate in one last city to live in, Eridu. Now, that name is interesting because Eridu is a real location on Earth. Yeah, it's right. Well, okay, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's essentially just an archaeological dig site in an Iraqi desert now. And while one could make the argument that Zenless's outer ring is a desert, this lake simply does not match the implied ocean at Port Elpis. Instead, it's much more likely that this name was chosen for its mythological significance, being one of the very first cities founded in Mesopotamia. All of this is to say that despite Eridu sharing a name with a real site on Earth, there is likely no correlation. Back to the worldwide hollows, though. We were running with the assumption that the entire planet was engulfed in hollows. This means that, yes, Eridu is the last city on the planet. The game has made references to this fact in marketing and press. This all lines up with a concept that we've received very little information on: the Dark Wall. From the name alone, it can be implied what it is. The Dark Wall is the hollow wall surrounding Eridu from all sides. In Zenless's original lore teaser video, 3 of the original 7 Void Hunters were knighted because of their feat where they single-handedly, quote, pushed the Dark Wall 37 kilometers back. Void Hunters to this day are responsible for maintaining that distance, being such an important task that they report and discuss any and all matters surrounding the Dark Wall before taking action. It would make perfect sense if this wall was the edge of the worldwide hollow, and that killing ethereals near the border would reduce its activity and shrink it like any other hollow. Of course, this being such a monumental task, it isn't entrusted to just Hand or the Defense Force. It's the best of the best Void Hunters like Hoshimi Miyabi. Despite her young age, she seems to have enough first-hand experience with the Dark Wall to be able to sense its presence in the air, namely during one of Rei's explorations deep into Hollow Zero. By the way, that is a very bad thing. There's a lot of questions raised during the Hollow Zero story missions with Rei, revolving around Geppetto, the White Star Institute, the Dark Wall, and synthetic ethereals. A topic for another time. If we were to zoom out on the planet, the Dark Wall would probably look a lot less like a wall and more like a pocket of habitable area. This raises some questions. Can the planet function? Does the carbon cycle cease to function without plants and animals around the world? A proposed theory has to do with hollow behavior surrounding rain and day-night cycles. Hollows go through day and night, and generally from what we've observed, the time of day lines up with the time in the outside world. The Port Elpis Hollow will also experience rainfall, which is likely a result of actual chemical precipitation, not hollow trickery. This leaves us to assume that while yes, hollows are their own contained space, they do receive outside influence. I believe it's reasonable that gases could pass in and out of hollows, seeing as the air is breathable. At least, rest easy knowing that the planet is not destined to implode because of the laws of physics and astronomy. I'm not even gonna bring up how hollows might affect the Earth's magnetic field. Earth, that's right. Is this Earth? Well, there's arguments for and arguments against. Sometimes during dialogue, a character will say the phrase, "What on earth?" I know there is an instance of Lucy saying it at some point, but I have no idea where, and I do not want to scrub the entirety of her voiced content to find it. More recently, there was an instance of Alice saying it during the Fantasy Resort storyline, but I did not record it and I can't replay it. So unfortunately, I do just have to say, trust me, bro. The use of the phrase, "what on Earth," seems to heavily imply planet Earth's existence. Now, Earth can be used as a non-proper noun, referring to soil and the ground, but the phrase itself, taken at face value, stems more from the planet's name. Am I looking too deep into this? Yes, but that's what makes it so fun. So in terms of arguments against the planet being Earth, the simplest is that it's just an urban fantasy setting that can literally be any planet. At the end of the day, yeah, why does it matter if Zenless takes place on a version of Earth or not? I mean, we don't have catgirls on our planet. Yet. There is one last topic I'd like to touch on for this video, and it's the population of New Eridu, which I guess means the world population. Believe it or not, we do actually have two good gauges for this number, both being social media related. The first is from the view counts visible when browsing Internet. Of course, Internet is somewhat of an off-the-grid media platform, so the highest view count we can see is that of the introductory posts, not even breaking 1 million. Social media views also don't necessarily equate individual people, but I still think we can use this as a good baseline. The second, more important number is the one Fairy gave us when talking about searches leading up to Astra Yao's Starloop concert.
Discussions related to Astra Yao have consistently dominated the top trending searches, accumulating 8.26 million views.
Now at first, I thought 8.26 million people sounded like a lot. But the population of New York City is, as of this video, 8.47 million. In fact, that number is so conveniently close that I think it's possible the writers used the New York population at the time as their number. This actually gives us a good estimate of how large the city of New Eridu really is. The in-game map doesn't seem to do it justice. New Eridu is big. It has to be. Even if we subtract 2 or 3 million from the number to account for repeat searches or something, we still have to compensate for people who didn't search for Astra Yao, which is probably a lot more people. So if you've ever been like me and had that passing thought of, I wonder if we'll run out of places in the city to go to. No. Not even counting the outer ring, New Eridu is massive. Which puts into perspective even more how much surface area the Void Hunters have to contend with when keeping the Dark Wall at bay. This city is worth fighting for. Man, I wish we had more info on the Dark Wall. It is deeply interesting to me. I'm sorry if this video came off as a bit of a bummer. The lore of Zenless clearly runs quite deep, but we just aren't given much information. A lot of it ends up being theory. Despite that, I find discussing these topics very fun and look forward to bringing you more lore content. My name has been Glastic. Thank you for watching. Heed the Hollow's call.